Hello, welcome to Assembly Update. I'm Assemblyman George Latimer. In our last program, we had two of my colleagues who represent districts in and around the Albany area talking about some of the issues that affect their portion of upstate. So we've invited them back for a second program for us to talk about a few more of those issues, and then also to talk about some of the statewide issues that affect us in the State Assembly and as well in the State Senate. So again, I'm joined by Assemblyman Bob Reilly, who is from the town of Colony and represents some areas in lower Saratoga County as well as the town of Colony, and also Assemblyman Tim Gordon, who's from the town of Bethlehem. So thank you both for being with us today.
Thank you, certainly.
We had mentioned in the last program one of the unique realities of representing a district in the Albany area, and I think this probably allows for our colleagues Ron Canestrari and Jack McEnany as well, that the people who live in and around Albany are either currently or formerly involved in state government, and they care a lot and follow very closely what happens in state government, which is not necessarily at all the case when you get, into other parts of the state. Is that a fair statement, Bob?
Absolutely, George. Albany is a factory town, and the factory is state government. And very many, tens of thousands of the people work for state government and are very knowledgeable about it. It's also prevalent on a daily basis in our newspapers, on our TV, on radio. So we are, in fact, a government town, and people are quite knowledgeable and sophisticated about what's happening in state government.
And so when you walk into the diner, Tim, does this mean that everybody points and says, there's Assemblyman Tim Gordon? Is that the kind of connection that people have with those who are elected in this area?
I think there's a better chance than not that in the diner I will end up addressing some issue, or someone will share a concern with me, because we do probably get a little more local media coverage than some of our counterparts do in surrounding larger markets. I guess our major league sporting activity, if it, except for the thoroughbred meet in Saratoga in August, would be state government. But I guess that goes both ways, because not only as a member of the legislature people might recognize you, but we're also kind of competing for, I guess, or there's maybe more interest, the spotlight that goes on to Governor Patterson, the leaders of the Assembly, the Senate, the Attorney General Andrew Cuomo, Tom DiNapoli, our controller. They're all based here, reaching out to the media quite a bit. So in some ways, we may be overshadowed because and people coming to Albany to lobby for things. But I've heard it said in the past, critics have said that the capital is in Albany, so people in the rest of the state don't see what's going on. I don't subscribe to that necessarily, but I think there's a certain reality that plays out sometimes.
One thing, George, is like when the governor proposed in his budget to eliminate over 8,000 state jobs, that was going to have a huge impact on the capital region. So that's an example of how directly we are tied to state government in this area.
It's always interesting to me when someone stops me at a diner or a supermarket or in some public domain to talk about an issue, and they know the bill number. That's not the normal experience when somebody says, where are you at on A6926? And then I realize I've run into somebody who really is well connected into the system. Let's talk about a physical feature that I would argue is the founding topographical reason why this state exists, and that is the Hudson River. It was the presence of that river and the city at the end of the harbor that really created New York as we know it back in the colonial days. And of course, the river runs through it. It runs alongside your districts, through your district, all the way down into my home county and on its way out to the Atlantic Ocean. What are some of the issues in your district, in your area of the state, your counties, relative to the Hudson River or to the Hudson River Valley?
Well, river access is important to the communities. I represent parts of 4 counties, 2 on the east and 2 on the west bank. But sometimes we're cut off from the river. There's railroads, highways. There are many places where you can access the river, and people want to be on the river. It's really a tremendous asset for rebirth and renewal in communities, in our older communities. The river is much cleaner than I believe it's often credited for. I think it's one of really the healthier estuaries in our nation. It's just a fantastic just a fantastic journey through history, what's happened on the river. And there's current measures now. We're continuing the cleaning. There is the problems with PCBs. Dredging's going on in the North Country. Anything like that can only help improve, I believe, the perception of the river as being a clean river. Commercially, it's still very important. We have the Port of Albany heating oil coming up to Rensselaer County throughout the winter on the river. We have a port in Queens. Port of Queens is just getting underway. Some entrepreneurs are making some good things happen there. Some of the fabrication for the new Yankee Stadium was produced in the town of Queens and the Port of Queens because it's about a 24-hour ride to New York on the river, and it's just really almost like pennies on the dollar compared to some other modes of transportation, especially when you're dealing with large items. So there's still a tremendous economic opportunity and recreational opportunity. We hope to have, I would hope in the next 10 years, as the river improves, more beaches and swimming opportunities. There are challenges. We have some shared sewers in our older communities. It's going to cost a lot of money to fix some of the infrastructure. It's usually not a problem, but you have a gully washer storm, so to speak, and then it causes all kinds of problems. Nonetheless, there are people north and south where the water is top quality for drinking purposes with the proper treatment. We have to continue to make sure that the river is cleaned up and is, I recognize that as for being as clean as it can and will, and it is.